Hello, welcome, good morning, good evening, and this is Social Q.
And no, we aren't those QAnon hacks. Hi, I jumped in.
I don't know what to do about that. We have a very special episode today. We're going to be going over the vice presidential debate. We just finished watching it, so we're really fresh off the the think tank there.
There's also a lot more meat, I feel like, in this one. Because in the other one, it was way more unintelligible.
Thank you, Gilbert. I love you.
Is that what you want me to say?
No, I'm talking to my future self playing the intro
cool,
music
cool.
in the edit.
Okay.
Don't do that. All right. So, right off the bat, first thoughts.
First of all, Pence was better at debating than Trump by far.
I feel like both of them.
Both of them were better at debating. Last debate, Biden was better, but almost possibly near by default because he was up in the polls, and also he just didn't faceplant. Whereas Trump not only face planted, he also just spoke so much that he made everyone hate him. A whole chunk of the people not like him at all. I mean, people already don't like him, but if you look at the polls, tons of people, most of the people said that they felt like the debate was annoying, and also Trump had an abysmal record in terms of who thought who won the debate. So I mean, I think a whole bunch of people just thought he was annoying, to be honest. So yeah, Biden barely won the last debate. This time, I think Kamala was the clear winner, but they both were better at debating in general.
All right, so your thing is that Kamala won the debate, obviously, but overall, both the debaters were a clear step up from the actual presidential debate.
Yeah.
Okay, good. For me, I thought that both of them were really, really bland. Pence didn't really call out Harris on much, but I did catch when he did, so that was those were good blows to her. Those were honest blows too.
I mean,
for the most part though, it kind of takes away from that when Pence just flat out lies about science and the facts and everything.
Or he just shifts the discussion.
Yeah,
he just
moves on or doesn't answer the question directly. So I feel like Pence kind of shot himself in the foot by just not really sticking to attacking Harris as much as he should have. Harris, on the other hand, she was more calmer and more direct and very, very much, I guess, aggressive at some points. But then she pulled back because she knew she had to show the utmost respect, because she was trying to show that she's of office material, and that the last debate does not reflect this debate at all. So
yeah.
So I feel like that dynamic of it, these two were just trying to show that this debate can be civil, and I guess debates from now on will be civil. I don't know. This might even, in fact, the main question on people's minds is this the last debate?
Yeah.
No, I mean for the remainder of the election.
Yeah, that depends on how well Trump is. I mean, does Trump even want to? I mean, what would even be better for Trump to do? I mean, would it be for him to debate while he is probably sick? I mean, let's see.
He could be in a remote setting,
yeah, but I'm saying
in a closed off area.
My point is that a long time ago when Nixon was debating, I believe JFK.
Yeah.
Nixon actually was very sick during that debate.
Yeah, you could hear it in his voice.
And it hurt him. It made that sort of thing actually hurts people in the polls, and Donald Trump's already doing abysmally. So maybe he just wants to do something else. maybe that would be the better strategy, is to not debate, to be honest.
See, that's weird, because like before any of this happened, even before the first presidential debate, Donald Trump's campaign and the Republican Party were advocating for more debates because they wanted Joe Biden on that stage and they wanted him talking.
Yeah, and that's funny that like the last debate. The thing is, like I said, Trump totally shot himself in the foot in that last debate, because if you let Joe speak a little bit, he was probably going to stumble at some point. I mean, he did actually had a few minor gaffes, like a few minor like mess ups, but they're all overshadowed. Like, for instance, the whole like mess up on the word docket, and like making it sound like he misunderstood how the Supreme Court worked, and like different words he'd mess up. But like, it made Trump just didn't make himself look good, because he overshadowed that.
Yeah, because he kept interrupting and over speaking Biden.
Yeah.
And everything. And the moderator had to like gain control of the situation, and by then we had already forgotten the question.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, right now, what, Donald Trump's in his 6th day of having the coronavirus?
Of quarantine? Yes.
And when's the debate for... I can't remember when the next presidential debate was slated for originally.
It was slated for, I think, the 15th. Yeah. So we're going to stick to just the vice presidential debate. Right now, the internet is blowing up. Twitter and Instagram, we've been on it constantly. The biggest news of the night, a fly landed on Mike Pence's head, and it stayed there for a while.
For like a minute or two.
Yeah.
Like maybe 2 minutes.
It was weird because he was actually moving his head and everything. Like, I've never seen a fly.
I don't know why he didn't, like...
I don't think he noticed. I don't think he could have noticed.
He had to.
No, there's no...
Anyway.
There were no, like, TVs there for him to see himself in.
I know this isn't relevant, but that was just funny as hell.
That was just the highlight of the event. All right. But now we're going to go into what they were talking about. So... what did you think was the biggest thing that they were talking about on that stage?
Now I know you watched a little bit more at the beginning because I got back from work.
Yeah.
I guess big issue would have to be coronavirus, the economy. I heard a lot as well.
They brought that up like 5 or 6
I think that was one of the biggest topics. Which I didn't expect that to be. I mean, I expected that to be brought up. I just kind of expected the COVID to be, like, overshadowing pretty much everything. I guess those would have to be the main topics of debate on this one. I mean, the main issues that were, like, the highlight issues. Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court stuff, that was kind of, like, minor, honestly. And yeah, I'm kind of hard pressed to think about anything else that was really a major issue that they spent a lot of time talking on. What about you?
For me, like, similar issues there. The biggest thing was the economy. I think healthcare was brought up a little bit.
Healthcare was brought up, probably be a third.
And the environment that was happening there. So we clearly had like similar issues that they were up to there, but I don't know. What did you think of? How do you feel like each person handled like a rebuttal from the other person?
I'd like to say, man, Pence just was not, like, aggressive enough, to be honest. Like, in his pursuit of being composed, he kind of went the opposite direction of Trump and ended up just taking a lot of really heavy blows from Kamala and not rebutting them.
Yeah, I did notice a lot that it kind of felt like he was supposed to respond. Like, they took a pause waiting for him to say something, but then he didn't, and so they had to move on.
One terrible blow was when Kamala was talking about the Trump administration's failure to deal with COVID and how under their administration 200,000 Americans died and Kamala ended it with literally talking about the 200,000 Americans that died due to COVID and their failures, and Pence just didn't say anything. And I was like, what the hell? You're not going to say anything?
Yeah, he's literally
You're not going to say anything.
He's literally in charge of that.
Yeah, he was in charge of that task force. I'm like, God. Like, if he had an earpiece, like, if I was like, I'd be like, say something now. Because he didn't say anything. He didn't say shit. So, like, in that issue, man, he just took really heavy blows from Kamala. Like, and honestly, I was wrong. I don't, like, obviously don't really like, I'm to the point where I guess I probably hate Elizabeth Warren a little bit more than Kamala Harris. Because at least Kamala's...
hold on. Did your opinion sort of, like, shift?
On Kamala Harris as a person?
Yeah.
No, not exactly. I would say, though, like, even though I don't like her, though, the way she debates makes me, like, she has a charisma about her that I did not realize. Like, she has a lot more charisma going her way. My mistake last time was I thought I equivocated her with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton had the charisma of a, like, piece of cardboard, to be honest.
Yeah. As
compared to Kamala. Kamala has had, like, way more charisma. She was, like, doing some really, like, boss moves against Pence.
Oh yeah, the
excuse me, I'm talking.
Excuse me, Mr. VP, I'm speaking.
Like, what the hell? No, she came off really, like, good, and, like, she had, like, a great energy about her.
She felt like more of the leader.
She reminded me of whenever a little bit of when Joe Biden was in his prime, and when he was such a great debater, and he would take charge of the situation. Mm-hmm. And she was aggressive, yet she also had a charisma about her, and that's kind of how Joe Biden was. He'd be belittling the person they were talking to in a respectful way, but also being like, "You're a total fucking dumbass, and I'm gonna school you." And it was funny because it'd make you. They didn't look like a dick, yet they were also, like, dunking on them.
Yeah,
I think Joe Biden was a little bit more effective than that, but honestly, like, I feel like I didn't really get much of a dickishness from her. I was just getting, like, damn.
Yeah, she's like, she made herself more, like, very much an authority and basically a boss ass bitch.
Yeah, she made herself look like, I mean, obviously, like, to what effect does she actually care about the American people? I mean, I'm pretty pessimistic on that point. You know, she took a lot of money from a lot of millionaires and billionaires, like everyone, like a lot of other people did. So, yeah, realistically, do I think that she maybe stands with a lot of, like, normal American people? Not really, but she definitely was good at fooling people. She was definitely good at, like, making it look like I'm on your side. This dude, no.
Yeah, she definitely made it seem like she was for more of the people and more of the, like, low-wage, low-income American that is, like, that needs a voice right now.
Yeah.
And so I think in that aspect of it, she's trying to gain that ground over him because, like, I think a lot of the Trump base is just these working-class people who feel like, I don't know, they're disenfranchised or unrepresented. And they felt like that was going to be Trump because he was an outsider to them in politics and everything. So that's clearly not the case. But I think Kamala Harris is going towards a similar route by, like, appealing to people's desire for more of a equality in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And, people want their fair share and people want the small minority to pay their fair share.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, let's talk, that reminds me, let's talk about their issue with the tax code and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris did mention that Joe Biden will get rid of Trump's tax code, like current tax code and everything. And Mike Pence took that as that Joe Biden's going to raise everyone's taxes. What do you think of that?
He was trying to do something there. I mean, he was trying
to do something that's
I commend
not
him
really sticking.
I commend him for trying, but like she had a really good rebuttal. Like she was like, we're not raising the taxes for we're not basically like raising taxes for, normal income families. And I forgot what exactly the line was.
It was $400,000 in income tax.
And he was like, no, you're wanting to and then he just like rebutted, like he just like reiterated, well, you're wanting to raise tax. You just said you wanted to, like, no, she didn't. Like, she literally just said she wants to make a fair tax code. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as good of a tax code as like a Bernie or whatever, but like the way she stated it and everything like that, like, wow, she did come off as like pretty. She came off pretty. Like, even after his rebuttal, he did not at all get anywhere with that. And her like response to it was like super duper like aggressive, and like she took charge of that situation, whereas Pence is just like meekly like trying to make these like attacks, and the attacks just didn't ever stick. The only one that I would say even stuck would maybe be the packing the courts thing, because she didn't ever give a clear answer to that. And I'm honestly going to say, like, why didn't she give... Like, honestly, it's stupid that she didn't give a clear answer. If I was Kamala, I would have said, like... And if she... I don't even know if, like... I guess she is in favor of it. I honestly don't know. Like, she's giving a non-answer, and maybe it's just because... Maybe it's just, ignorance on my part. I know there's a good amount of, like, people who are farther on the left who agree with packing the courts, but then my impression my impression was that a lot of centrist and, like, classical just centrist Democrats didn't really agree with packing the courts. Like, they didn't really care about it. But maybe I was wrong. I'm pretty sure they don't really want to do much about it. They don't really care about doing that with the courts. They don't really care about anything but, like, helping whoever gives them money, the donors of them.
Speaking of packing the courts, what's your opinion on that?
I think that's absolutely the only choice we have if they're going to. I mean, I think justices within the Supreme Court aren't, like, free from politics. They obviously vote based on their own convictions and opinions
and their own
politically.
Ideologies.
Yeah, their own ideologies. And I think it's stupid that a lot of people have this myth that, like, that they're, like, somehow these objective forces of reason.
Non-partisan, just voicings of
the
Almighty.
They're very much partisan.
They're human beings. What are you talking about?
If they're going to go against the American people, then I'm not opposed to packing the courts at all. And honestly, if I was, I guess the reason why she didn't take charge on it is because there are some within the Democratic Party who are in favor of it. I don't really believe that a vice like a Joe Biden or Kamala Harris are going to pack the courts. So that's the reason why I'm so confused as to why they won't give a clear answer on it. And if she was really in favor of packing the courts, I would have taken charge. And I'm like, well, if that means if I have to choose between packing the courts and having women's rights taken away, then I guess I'm going to pack the courts. Like, I would have said something like that.
Right.
I would have spinned it on him.
Yeah, it's a very huge issue,
and the non-answer thing does not really go a long way. Like, it really just makes you look shitty.
Doesn't. It just, like, makes you seem like you're very much unaware of the situation and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you don't have an opinion on it.
Yes.
Which you obviously should have.
She's kind of waiting to see where the wind blows on the opinion.
She's waiting, and that's been a major issue with her this entire time, way back to when she was running for president, nominee of the Democratic
Yeah.
Party. Sticking with the Supreme Courts, I want to ask, what is your opinion on term limits for the Supreme Justices?
I definitely think there should be term limits.
All right, but what do you think is a good time frame for the term limits?
That's a good question. I honestly don't really have like a good time frame. I don't know.
Because obviously, like, if you give them, like, say a 4-year term limit, that's not enough for anything.
Not a whole lot. I think it would have to be something like 10 years, I guess. But like that seems like a lot.
That seems like a lot,
but
really,
but in the
it's
case
only
of like time,
in the case of, I mean, there'd be a new generation of people becoming voter age and getting informed at that point and everything. But I don't think there'd be a major shift in everyone's, beliefs and ideologies by that point. So I think somewhere between 15 and 30. I know 30 is like a really much a lot, but like, some U.S. representatives and congressmen and senators, they've been in office longer than that. So I don't know what they're complaining about. So a 15-year maybe margin of, I don't know, setting the term limits for each justice and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just an unknown territory that people need to start talking about now, so that we can get to a fair conclusion.
I wouldn't even go towards 30 years. I go towards maybe 10 or 15. But
see, you're thinking of what if something changes instantly, like somewhere between like 5 to 20 years
nowadays,
from now.
like I think that like the Supreme Court is uniquely positioned to usurp, like, sort of undermine the power of the people. And they're, of course, like, in the past, like with President Jackson or whatever, people have run over the Supreme Court's decisions, but like they are super powerful. Like, don't get me, like, you can't argue against them not being powerful. Like the people can't exactly like do much to overpower their decisions. The only time their decisions could be like run over is like by someone else in the government, like the president or other forces within the government. But like that's the reason why I feel like the term limit should be like on the shorter end, because they have a unique position in like how they shift things. And I think it's naive to try to say that like their position is uniquely like objective, because they're not objective. And the sooner we come to terms with that, the sooner the sooner we'll actually get a court system that works well. I mean, just recently, a few of the more conservative judges were talking about, basically, like, they're talking about how, like, they're wanting to overturn Roe v. Wade, or not what Roe v. Wade, it was, the gay marriage, court decision. I can't remember for the life of me what that one was. It was the one in 2015, the landmark one that basically had gay marriage as like a legal thing throughout the whole United States. Y'all know the decision. It was in 2015.
Look it up for yourselves.
Two of the more conservative ones, and I can't remember their names, but this is like came out in a piece just recently. We're talking about how they were talking about revisiting that decision, or revisiting it if another thing that would be like would come to the Supreme Court that would challenge it, that would be like positioned to challenge that decision. They were talking about revisiting it, which is not good. Like these are the people who dissented on that decision, the people who disagreed, who didn't agree with like having gay marriage as a something you should do.
That never makes sense to me. How a lot of times they always like try to revisit these cases, and a lot of times these cases are dealing with almost basic human rights, and just people's decision making and people's choices. What does that have to do with the law and everything?
I mean, the only way they can revisit them is if a similar case comes to them, and then they come back to it basically, and they basically overturn their last decision.
Yeah, I know how that would work.
Yeah.
But like these clear cases of people wanting to do something that seems obviously okay with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Except for like a small minority of them who are very involved in voicing their opinion for the rest of us. That you get these sway of opinions, and then like something like a belief or an ideology comes into play, and then you're just obscuring everyone else's ideas and voices and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Like, being gay is all right. I mean, it's not who is it bothering in the long run?
The whole court decision, I think, basically was a court decision to determine that the civil union between two same-sex people have the same sort of like legal benefits and legal shit behind it, right? I think that's exactly what it was. It wasn't like
but but I feel like the courts are misinterpreting legal benefits from biological benefits from between a man and a woman, and there's like, I guess, duty in the household, and everyone, and hopefully everyone that's listening already knows that those are just stereotype gender roles that everyone seems to like follow and everything. But like we're moving on into a society where like those are non-existent and everything, and so the benefits of a civil union are not the same as what they used to be in their eyes and everything. But for us, as the new generation stepping in and like growing into these positions and everything, we don't like adhere to what they've said in the past, because what they've said in the past was very restrictive for individuals, like certain groups and everything.
I don't know if they consciously are doing this. I think it's mainly they're just personal beliefs, but it's like doing that sort of thing, it just kind of, I guess, serves to further control, minority populations and stuff like that.
So then, in a way, they are doing it consciously.
I mean, I don't think they're like thinking of some sort of deep agenda.
They're not thinking. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they have that detailed plan all laid out and everything. I'm saying that they're consciously making these decisions based on what they believe and what they feel like is okay in their mind. But then they never think about, it's like, well, does it affect me in a way that would harm me?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's not the case at all.
Yeah. Like,
what is gay marriage affecting you with?
The argument they had against that, a lot of people have against it, who are like, it's a dumb argument, but like a lot of the times that people would put against it would be like religious convictions or something like that. Like let's talk about what that lady who worked in like the office that gives people a marriage license. I don't even know what that is. Like,
some kind of clerk.
Yeah, some sort of clerk.
I don't remember what the official title is, but I know. Do you mean like the lady that like gives out the marriage license?
Yeah. And she refused to, based off of religious convictions, to a gay couple. And she's still working on trying to, by the way, take some sort of case to the Supreme Court on this issue. But like, she basically was like, well, I have a right to, refuse giving them a marriage license because of like my religious beliefs. And it's like, that's like such a stupid argument. Like,
no, it's not a completely ridiculous argument.
It's not.
I see it as like, she has the right to refuse, but she does not have to have the right to deny them.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. And
because there's a difference between that. Because like someone from that, like, say working there in that office where the marriage license is given, say like they ask for someone else instead, she can't just stop them and just like deny them from getting access to it.
Yeah.
Okay? Then she's interfering with someone else's rights.
Yeah.
At that point.
Exactly.
Your own rights come first, but when you try to interfere with someone else's, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Maybe there's a bit more of a coherent argument behind that, and I just don't know enough. I mean, of course, I don't think that's a good argument, even if it was like put together even better, because at the end, the crux of the argument is that they're trying to take away the rights of an individual or a group to actually like marry like other people. But like it doesn't make any sense to me as an argument, and I don't understand like how that can just be overturned, you know? Like that's the thing that baffles me in terms of the Supreme Court. Like that something that basic that you think would be totally agreed upon, it could just be overturned, because literally I really feel like the justices, or a lot of them, I guess, will have their own sort of opinions and then work backwards from that opinion and try to fit it within the framework of an intellectual discussion on like the Constitution, right? And try to basically work backwards from what their personal beliefs are. And then say, well, this is the reason why I believe it. It's not my personal beliefs. It's just, this is the reason why.
Yeah, at that point, it just doesn't make any
and
sense.
They really are political. They are political entities. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just deny that they do that.
Yeah.
At least some of the time. Back to the debate. Pence had a few different areas he could have hit her on, and like her prosecution record, or like her as a prosecutor, like he was almost went there, but like I think the part of the reason why he didn't go fully there is because of how, you know, obviously bad the Trump administration has been on criminal justice sort of issues, and like, you know, like helping out like the whole issues with the policing system and all that stuff. So I don't know, maybe that's the reason why he didn't go so hard on her on that, because he knew that like she would have a lot to go off of to rebut that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That if he were to call her out on all her stuff,
bullshit,
all that shit she did when she was a prosecutor in California, that she would go and mention the problems with the police brutality and the
inability to like do anything substantive. But like I still think it would have had a good blow if he talked about how like she jailed a lot of disproportionately African American people, and prosecuted them, you know, based off of like drug charges and stuff like that.
Yeah, her
marijuana charges,
her policies and like decisions were very much disproportionately like
against African American
Americans.
Yeah, and that's the reason why African Americans, like amongst African Americans within California, she was not popular.
Right.
If you remember that, she lost. She was so bad in California in terms of polling throughout the primary, and that's, people forget that she did abysmally with African Americans, at least in California, and people in general in California, because her record with that community, like basically her record was that she was kind of like with the system, the broken policing system, and that's how she was seen. And honestly, that's pretty accurate. It really is. She was pretty complicit in all that. I mean, she even had a policy of like jailing mothers for what was it, truancy?
It was truancy on their children,
and that affected like a lot of times like working like lower class families, you know, because they don't have as much of the resources to take their kids to school sometimes.
Or like they don't have the time and that level of concern to go and to make sure that their child is in school, because it's kind of hard to do that while you're working at the same time that your kid is going to school. And if your kid decides to skip, it's not really on you, really.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how
there's a lot of complexity in that issue. It's not all across the board like, oh, wow, this person's a shitty person. I'm sure there are some shitty people who just didn't choose to bring their kids to school, but like, you have to like look at that at case by case basis, and you shouldn't be just willy nilly like trying to prosecute people off of that.
Yeah.
Like honestly, it would probably work better if you had like social workers doing that sort of issue, not just jailing people. Like what does that do in the long run? Does that help the kid?
Yeah, it doesn't affect it. It actually makes them more.
It's a long drawn out process.
Yeah, it actually makes them more drawn to committing these kinds of acts later. Even like if say their parent goes to jail, they're more likely to end up on the streets because of that.
Yeah, and Pence had a distinct opportunity to like talk about that stuff, and he never did.
He never brought it up.
In that sense, Pence really did not do well in terms of debating.
No, I don't think they prepared him enough for this.
They didn't prep him enough, honestly. And Trump wasn't prepped either, I feel like, enough. He was like I feel like watching Fox News and like sniffing his own farts, like sniffing his own like conservative farts and bad ideas, and wasn't really preparing for a general like public audience rather than his own base. Right. His own base they're not going to believe that Joe Biden's a Marxist or a radical left. They're not going to. Nobody who is in the general population is going to believe that. I'm sorry. That's a terrible argument. Like, they should have prepped him in, like, making more, like, populist, more, like, reminiscent, like, arguments that were reminiscent of 2016. Because the way he argued against Hillary Clinton, he mopped the floor with Hillary Clinton with his arguments. He made her look like an idiot.
All right. So, last question, and we're going to end it after this. How do you feel this vice presidential race compared to 4 years ago? That vice presidential debate.
Debate?
Yeah,
Debate. I thought this was a really interesting one, honestly. I think Pence did, better in his performance this time around, I guess. I don't know. Like, I still feel like he lost the debate. Like, he still...
Oh, well, he lost, most definitely.
He most definitely lost.
But compared to what he did in 2016...
Yeah.
It was more interesting.
It was a lot more interesting. Kamala, like, even for someone who, like, I look at her like, a tool of the system. Like, I look at her, like, with disgust a lot of times. And me and Gilbert were actually on her side. Like she kind of, like, her charisma kind of got us like, oh man, damn, that was a really good, like, comeback there. Like, those are some good arguments. And so, like, she actually had a charisma about her that I actually didn't really think about. I didn't even, like, notice, to be honest. And maybe that's just me during the primaries focusing on Bernie. She did a lot of really annoying shit during the primaries. But, like, that didn't come through during this debate performance. And actually, she came off as very charismatic. So, I mean, that really was a plus in her direction. And also, like, she made a lot of really good hits on the Trump Pence administration.
I think that she probably had more of an advantage because of the one-on-one style.
Yeah.
There, I think, was the problem with the debates in the primaries was that everyone was trying to be heard. So they were trying to come up with one-liners and everything. And they were just trying to, like, say something so they could be focused on during the debate. This one, obviously, you just have two people and you can literally put them on the screen at the same time. Because you remember when, like, the Democratic primaries were going on, they were like, 20 people going on. You can't really put all them on the screen, otherwise it'll be muffled. So, and in this in this scenario, in this standing in the election, I think that she was able to dial back all the one-liners. She still had a couple, and Pence did as well, and she even called him out on some of them.
She was like, that was a good line.
That was a good line, well prepared and everything. But she was able to dial back all the one-liners and actually talk about like the issues and what was going on. She did get repetitive. I'm not saying she was perfect, but she did get repetitive and everything. But for the most part, I think she was able to win this debate because she is very good at debating one-on-one. And so she knew what she was doing the entire time. And so she was able to, like, call him out, Mike Pence, call him out and be able to, get him all riled up or, like, indifferent about something. Or just not say anything at all because...
Make him quiet.
Yeah, just shut him up entirely, and that's...
Because he had no rebuttal.
Yeah.
He wasn't prepared enough for some of those things. Like the whole, like, 200,000 deaths thing. He didn't even say anything about it. And I was like, it's totally surprised. Totally surprised about that.
I thought he was going to be, like, almost a mirror image of Trump.
That's what I would have been doing.
Yeah.
I would have been saying whatever I could.
Yeah, because people in the past have thought of the vice presidential debate as nothing more than just views and everything. It was nothing more than just like, a C-SPAN of Congress signing papers or something. It just didn't feel like an event like they do the presidential debates.
This one felt way more like a regular presidential debate, which is interesting to me, I thought.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the commentators on it what was it, ABC?
It was ABC. Yeah.
It was ABC. They even said this is probably going to be like a starting point for their possible run as president in 2024, because you're looking at that, and so they're gonna think back at this time where like this stage right now is basically their audition for the nomination of their parties and everything. So I like that this debate probably got more attention than any vice presidential debate in the past. I don't know. I have to look at the view numbers, but I like that people are getting more informed and more aware of these types of things going on. So I like the fact that it got more attention than it was supposed to or projected to happen.
So, like, tell me what you thought about your, like, expectations versus, like, how it actually turned out. What surprised? Did anything surprise you? Did anything, like, what do you think?
My expectation was very low. Okay.
Well, let's talk about each of the candidates. Expectations for each candidate.
Kamala Harris, I had no idea because I don't know her. I don't know what she's like. I didn't study up on her. Unfortunately, before this debate, I had no idea what to expect from her.
You had at least some idea.
I had an idea that she would smile and say one-liners.
Yeah.
That was the most
I had that idea too.
Mike Pence, I knew right off the bat, if he comes in this debate doing the same thing that he's always done in the past and be white and bland, like a piece of toast, it's just going to be up to the Harris. And the reality
Harris.
of it is that it actually happened that way.
Yeah.
Except, Kamala Harris actually showed up.
Yeah, and like, so, I was really surprised to find that, like, I was like liking the charisma there.
Yeah,
like,
I was surprised, but also I was hoping for that. So she met my expectation of what I wanted her to do. Mike Pence did not.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed in Mike Pence.
I don't really like
him.
Even though
I don't like him, I'm very disappointed in him.
I'm very disappointed in him.
All right. We will end it there. This has been Social Q. This is episode 6 on the vice presidential debate. We have an Instagram, and it has been gaining a lot of followers in the past week or so. So, and if you're here from the Instagram, hello. Thank you for listening. All right. That's it for us. Noah, say bye.
Peace out, y'all.
You don't listen to me at all. All right. Social cue out.